Have you ever caught yourself about to post something, paused, and suddenly thought, why am I even doing this? And what does it say about me if I don't? That hesitation matters. Because most people assume that if someone doesn't post, it's shyness, insecurity, introversion. But that assumption is comforting. And comforting assumptions are often wrong. We live in a world where visibility became currency. Birthdays, promotions, relationships, workouts, even grief. Everything gets packaged and posted. And slowly, without noticing, the brain starts equating being seen with being valued. Every like, every comment, every notification, a small dopamine hit. Over time, your mind starts thinking in captions instead of experiences, in angles instead of presence, in validation instead of meaning. So what happens psychologically when someone chooses not to participate at all? First, understand this. Silence is rarely random. For some people, not posting is control. It's owning their narrative instead of outsourcing it to an audience. Psychologically, this often reflects a stronger internal locus of control. Their worth doesn't depend on digital applause. In a culture obsessed with projection, that restraint feels mysterious, even intimidating. Because when someone doesn't perform themselves publicly, you're forced to meet them without context, without highlights, without a curated storyline. But not all silence is strength. Some people stopped posting because they burned out. They once shared everything, every milestone, every memory, until they felt pressure to keep escalating, to prove life was interesting, successful, happy. And one day they realized something uncomfortable. They were living for documentation instead of experience. So they disappeared. No dramatic exit, just less and less presence, until silence felt safer than performance. Then there's fear-driven silence, self-presentational pressure, the constant awareness of being watched, evaluated, interpreted. Some minds overthink captions, reread comments, analyze reactions. Eventually, the cost of visibility feels too high, so they retreat, not because they don't want connection, but because they don't want misinterpretation. There's also psychological ownership. Some memories feel sacred, and the moment you post them, they become shared property, open to scrutiny, comparison, distortion. For some people, that loss feels invasive, so they protect their moments, not because they're antisocial, but because intimacy with their own life matters more than visibility in others. But here's the paradox. Silence online doesn't automatically mean peace. Sometimes it hides comparison fatigue, because even if you don't post, you still scroll. And scrolling can quietly amplify insecurity. Watching curated success while living unfiltered reality creates tension. For some, not posting becomes a shield. Less participation, less investment in the scoreboard. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The reflex to share isn't entirely natural. It was conditioned, rewarded, reinforced, engineered. So when someone steps outside that system, it can feel like rebellion. Stepping off a moving walkway while everyone else keeps walking. That takes awareness, and often quiet confidence. But silence can also mask avoidance, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear that authenticity won't be received well, which means non-posting isn't one story. It's layered. Sometimes confidence, sometimes fatigue, sometimes discipline, sometimes protection. The real question isn't why they don't post. It's what their silence protects. Peace, authenticity, ownership, or insecurity. And if you're honest, when you don't post something meaningful, do you feel empowered, or invisible, relieved, or disconnected? Because visibility has become so intertwined with value that stepping back can trigger doubt. A quiet fear that if no one sees your progress, it doesn't count. But the most transformative parts of your life will never be posted. Your private growth, your internal battles, Your silent decisions that changed everything. In a world constantly whispering, "Look at me," choosing not to perform can be self-definition, not shyness, psychology. The next time you hesitate before posting, ask yourself one question. Am I seeking connection, validation, proof, or protection? Because sometimes the most revealing thing about a person isn't what they share. It's what they deliberately keep to themselves.